Welcome to our Build a Village series, sponsored by Stencil Girl and Judikins.
We're going to make this great decorated cutting board today. I'm decorating this blank cutting board as a little gift for myself, from me to me, actually, because we're the Bostics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stencil, and I have this cute little stencil of a house from the Stencil Girls. And I take my stencil, I lay it on the top of the cutting board, and I'm going to secure it with a little bit of Eclipse tape. Now, our Eclipse tape has a real lightweight adhesive on it, so it doesn't stick to the stencil. You want to just make sure that all the little openings don't get covered, just like so. Make sure we're a little straight. And then I'm just going to apply one more bit of tape. Now that my stencil is secure, I'm going to use my ink pad, and I'm using some chalk ink here because once you heat it, it actually is permanent on the wood. This is just an embossing heat gun, and we're just going to dry the ink right on the wood here. The reason why it's called chalk ink is because when it dries, it looks chalky. Just want to make sure it's nice and dry. See? And the reason why I want it dry is because I'm going to paint over this now. Now I'm going to apply a little color onto my cutting board here with some mica gloss inks. So you just take the mica gloss ink and shake it up and just squeeze out a little drop. And then maybe just a little bit of white. The pearl actually lightens things just a bit. Then you take a paintbrush, and we're going to just dip the brush in a couple of these colors, and I'm going to paint right over the outline here. Now I know what you're thinking. She's painting right over what we just stenciled, but I'm using that stencil as a guideline at this point. And you don't have to be as super neat on this. Just maybe a little bit of the green. Let's heat this up again to dry the mica gloss. When I'm all finished drying this ink, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stencil back over the top of it because the paint covers up some of those original lines. So I just sort of match up where I applied that ink before, just like so. Take my ink pad and come back in and just carefully push the ink onto the stencil, and this will just give it a little definition. See? There we go. Now, again, we need to dry that ink just like we did before. Now that the ink is dry on the cutting board here, I'm going to use an old CD here as to create a guideline. So I just take my pencil and just lightly draw a line so you can kind of see it right here. And then I might move it up just a little bit to kind of, so this would be the guideline for my letters. Now, I'm going to take, this is a water brush, and I have black ink in the water brush, or black paint actually. And I'm going to just brush the letters on here. So I just say Bostics. So it's going to be B, and you just push down harder for the downstroke, but coming up a little bit lighter. And I think I want to say the Bostik, so I'm going to come back in here at the top. If you see a little of the pencil line and that bothers you, wait for the ink to dry, so I'm going to come in with my heat gun again. And then you can just lightly erase the pencil line. But you want to be careful that you don't smudge that ink or paint. The final step is going to be adding the glaze, or some kind of a lacquer. If you have a varnish or lacquer at home, you can most certainly use that. I have this product called Gel du Soleil, and our Gel du Soleil is a UV curing glaze. Just perfect because you can use it in the sun. You can let it set in the sun. I'm just going to use a little bit of this Gel du Soleil, and what you do is you squeeze out about a 1 or 2 inch diameter of the glaze. I just cover it up, and I'm going to use this little foam brush to spread the glaze out. Once you coat the whole thing with the glaze, then you're going to put it into some kind of ultraviolet light. For me here in Los Angeles, the sun is a perfect place to cure this coating. But for those of you that like to work in vampire hours, we also have a little light here that you can use, and it's an ultraviolet light. And you just insert the cutting board, and then you just let it set. This amount of glaze on there is probably going to take a couple of minutes. So you just continue to expose a little portion at a time until you finish the whole board. Once you've cured the glaze, if it looks like you don't have enough of a coating on there, you can add a second coat. Just squeeze out more of the Gel du Soleil here. This time I want it a little bit thicker. I can add as many layers as I want to this, but 2 is going to be sufficient to seal the ink and seal the paint so that if I want to wash the cutting board, I can. Now, once this is completely finished, I really wouldn't use this side of my cutting board to cut on. I would actually flip it over and use the back side.
We hope you're enjoying our special Build a Village series. Please follow us on social media and sign up on our website, and you could be a winner of a prize box full of some of our favorite sponsors' products. And as we always say, when creativity knocks, open the door.